David, you and I were talking over lunch, and you made some great analogies and examples of why it's so important to have to stick to the fundamentals, especially coming from your sports background and your coaching background. Can you run that one by me again about what?
Run one by me again.
Well, how important do you think fundamentals are in this business as well as sports?
Well, I think in any professional endeavor, fundamentals are the foundation, which is what it's born from, right? To repeatable behavior and routine and discipline that's required to be, the best at your profession. And I guess the discipline that goes with it has to be born out of what I think we all have to have is, what do you want, what are you motivated to do? And I think that the analogy I used with you was golf, one of them. And, as I was talking to a couple of our reps, I said that, there are a lot of things that you don't want to do that you need to do or have to do to be at the top of your profession. And this is kind of a reverse analogy. I said, like golf, I said, I'm a 16 handicap golfer, and I could probably be a 6 because I'm a pretty good athlete. But I'm not, because I don't want to take the time to hit golf balls and to take lessons and put the time and effort in to really be a 6 handicap. But if you really want to be at the top of your profession, those are the things that you need to do on a routine basis. You have to have the discipline and the drive and the motivation, if it's really what you want, to take the time to do those things that you don't want to do.
Kind of like the common denominator of success, right?
Yeah, I guess that would be pretty accurate, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What are some of the other keys you think to being successful in this industry? Either as a rep or a manager.
Well, systems. We talked about systems, and I think systems are born out of, again, out of discipline, of having a framework to work off of. We talked about, one of the beauties and the attractions to our industry is the flexibility and freedom. But that also is the #1 killer, because if you don't have the discipline to frame out your responsibilities and your duties, and the foundation of that is activity, but planning your activity and then executing it are really two different things. You have to plan it before you can actually execute. And then taking it the next step further in regards to understanding what impact that has is the tracking of it, so that you understand what are the measurements that you can or would have derived from tracking it, so that you can then go back through and do an analysis of what's going right and what's going wrong. If you don't have that data, there's no way that you can do any type of analysis of what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
And who would you consider to be some of your greatest mentors or leaders in the industry that you try to learn from and model after?
I probably the ones that had the biggest impact on me were the Kinder brothers. Being a couple old coaches and me being a broken down athlete, I think that I could relate to those fundamental concepts that they continue to drill into you, and that's really the foundation of a lot of what I've practiced or preached over the last 28 years. I just think it's critical, again, in any profession, that you've got fundamentals that you've built into your practice, and then you can do things as the situations avail themselves. But you have to have those things on a routine basis, and they're probably, I'd say, the strongest thread throughout at least my career in training. I'd say another guy that's had a big impact on me would be, Bob Castellone, and his philosophies in regards to planning and how money works, and having a little higher level intellectual conversation about the impact of having and being the most successful financially as you can be, and it's just the development through efficiencies. And that theme, I think, runs through even practice management. So that whole philosophy that he's cultivated through the planning is also very important in life in general. I tell him, I said, look, if you really grasp the concept of lost opportunity, and you can teach that to children at a young age, they'll understand how important it is to be the most efficient and effective with the money that you have, because it's a scarce resource. So.
And what can you tell me about the MVA formula from the Kinder brothers?
Again, I think that's one of the, the threads and foundations. It's really the only the three things that you can affect: your market, your efficiency, and your activity. And if you understand those three fundamental categories, if you will, and you measure those, then getting back to that analysis of what's my market, and over a period of time, how can you impact that? And that's then, rather than working with a group in the sales profession, you go to their sales managers because you're marketing yourself up. Mm-hmm. Or to even better, you go to the people who own the businesses. Mm-hmm. And within that, the activity model, and the activity part of it is, that's the core. That's the one thing when you first start out that you can control. The efficiency part you can leverage through joint work. In the initial phase of your practice, but then it's also something that's important is what's your closing ratio? How efficient are you doing? And if you and your coach both have those three dynamics, they can look at those and you can go back and say, how can I impact those? Mm-hmm. And if you run that model out, any one of those three that you affect incrementally impacts your production. I think it's imperative to know. Mm-hmm.
And I failed to ask you a question earlier about what really is your background in coaching. But can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I played football in college, and one of my motivations of playing football in college is one of my aspirations was to coach. I had a couple uncles that coached. And as I got a little older and played, I realized that I wasn't going to go into coaching. So I ended up getting into sales. Because my father said, gee, if I had to do it all over again, I would have gotten into sales. So I kind of took that to heart. Now, it's kind of crazy for my father to say because he was a very successful executive. But once I got into the life insurance business, my agency manager at the time approached me and said, how would you like to get into management? And I said, I don't really have any desire to get into management. I got out of what I was doing before to get into the sales and just control my own destiny. And he said, well, you're doing a lot of joint work and I think you'd be very good at it. Why don't you get into the system program? And I said, all right. And so I did, and I realized that was a part of me that I wasn't doing on an individual basis, that I was being able to exercise these coaching aspirations by recruiting and training and developing people within our industry. So that's kind of been the thing that's made this so much fun over the years. I did actually go to my high school from 91 to 96, and I coached the quarterbacks in the offense on a voluntary basis. So I got to actually exercise my football aspirations from that standpoint. And we made it to the quarterfinals a couple times and had a lot of fun. But within that also, we had about 15 kids that went on to play college football from Division III to Division I. And I'd like to believe that a lot of that was my raising the bar and pointing out to them that there's a short span of your opportunity to play this game, and if you really love it, you better take advantage of it now.